Imagine waking up one morning, and everything outside is covered in snow. The trees are frozen. The ground is hard. The wind feels like it can cut through your skin. There is no heater, no warm house, no winter jacket, no supermarket waiting around the corner. And you have absolutely no idea how long the winter will last. For us, winter can mean staying inside with a blanket and a warm drink. For ancient humans, winter could mean death. So how did our ancestors survive one of the most dangerous seasons on Earth? The answer begins with something much simpler than you might expect. Fire. Imagine sitting inside a dark cave thousands of years ago. Outside, the temperature keeps falling. But inside, there is a small fire. The flames provide warmth. They provide light. And they allow humans to cook food. Fire didn't make winter harmless. But it created something incredibly important. A small piece of warmth in a freezing world. Humans learned to keep fires alive, collect dry wood, and protect flames from wind and rain. But fire alone wasn't enough. Because eventually, the cold would find its way inside. Humans needed another solution. Shelter. Caves were naturally useful. They protected humans from wind, snow, and rain. But humans also began creating shelters from whatever materials they could find. Branches, leaves, wood, animal hides, bones. The goal wasn't luxury. It was simply to create a barrier between the human body and the freezing environment. And location mattered. A shelter protected from strong winds could make a huge difference. A place near water and food was even better. But even with fire and shelter, there was still one enemy humans couldn't hide from: hunger. During warmer seasons, nature could provide many options. Plants grew. Fruits appeared. Insects were everywhere. Animals were easier to find. But winter changed the landscape. Plants disappeared beneath snow. Some animals migrated. Others became harder to track. Suddenly, finding enough food became much more difficult. And this meant ancient humans couldn't simply wait for winter to arrive. They had to prepare for it. Food could be dried, smoked, or otherwise preserved depending on the environment and technology available. They also had to understand which animals could be hunted during different seasons. In other words, surviving winter started before winter even arrived. Today, we can check the weather on our phones. Ancient humans had something else: nature. Animals changed their behavior before seasonal changes. Birds migrate. Some animals move toward warmer areas. Others gather food. Plants change. The length of daylight changes. The temperature changes. Ancient humans learned to notice these signals. They didn't need a weather app to know that winter was approaching. The environment was telling them. They just had to listen. There was another invention that transformed life in cold environments: clothing. Humans don't have thick fur covering their bodies like many mammals. So instead, we created our own protection. Animal skins and fur could be turned into clothing and coverings. These layers helped reduce heat loss and made colder environments more manageable. Think about how incredible that is. Instead of waiting for evolution to give us thicker fur, humans used intelligence to create something that performed a similar job. We built our own artificial protection from the cold. But even if you had shelter, even if you had fire, even if you had clothing, you still needed energy. And cold weather makes food especially important. Imagine being freezing cold and hungry at the same time. Your body needs energy to keep functioning. So access to calorie-rich foods could become critical. Meat, fat, nuts, seeds, stored foods. Whatever the environment provided. But here's the interesting part. Humans didn't just survive winter through individual strength. They survived through cooperation. Imagine one person trying to do everything. find food, collect firewood, build a shelter, protect the fire, find water, watch for predators, care for children. It would be incredibly difficult. But a group could divide the work. One person could hunt. Another could gather wood. Someone could maintain the fire. Others could prepare food or care for children. And perhaps most importantly, people could share knowledge. Someone might know where animals moved during winter. Someone else might know where water could still be found. Another person might know how to build a better shelter. This meant something incredibly valuable was being passed between generations. Knowledge. Ancient humans weren't stronger than winter. They weren't immune to freezing temperatures. And they certainly didn't have some secret biological advantage that made cold harmless. They survived because they adapted. They learned to control fire. They built shelters. They created clothing. They preserved food. They watched nature. They worked together. And they remembered what previous generations had learned. Every winter became a lesson. Every mistake became information. Every successful survival strategy could be passed to the next generation. And slowly, humans became capable of living in places that once seemed impossible. Now imagine that ancient forest again. The sun is disappearing. Snow is falling. The wind is getting stronger. But this time, you aren't helpless. There is a fire burning inside your shelter. Food has been prepared. Your body is protected by layers of clothing. Your group is nearby. And everyone knows what they need to do. Winter is still dangerous. But you have something more powerful than strength. You have knowledge. And that's perhaps the greatest survival advantage humans ever developed. We didn't survive because nature became easier. We survived because we learned how to adapt to it. And every winter our ancestors survived, made the next generation a little better prepared for the one that came after it.